Okay, Wade. I see you drinking out of that cup. Is it from Starbucks?
Yeah, dude, I needed my caffeine fix. Or
Okay.
Oh
I'm
man.
done.
So, first of
It's
all,
been a
it's from
day.
Starbucks. Okay. So my question is this. Is your name written on it with the Sharpie?
Poorly.
Poorly. This is like part... Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's
you
pretty
use
bad.
your real name? You don't use an alias?
Hey,
It's Starbucks. Like
wow, Wade.
my thread. You can Google me and figure out most of my life. Like that Starbucks ain't gonna matter. The barista knowing my name is probably a positive because they just start making my drink when I walk in.
You know what's
Okay.
funny? They actually they actually don't even put my name on it. They just put happy spaces and smiley faces. That's all they put. So you get your name written on it. I get smiley faces.
So that's the question. So this is like
Uh-huh.
the new Starbucks thing is they're writing on the cups again. They bought like 200,000 Sharpies or whatever. It was like a news
Yeah.
article. And now they're writing on the cups. Did this affect anything at all? Is there anyone out there who's like, I only buy coffee from places that write on the cups with Sharpies?
Uh-oh. We got another
Dude,
cup.
Fake
we got
name?
another cup.
Fake name. Now you know.
Now you know
Now
your
you know.
fake name of choice.
R2D2, your drink's ready.
Wait a second. How do we know? How do we know that's not her real name, and the name she's giving us is the fake one?
R2D2 is pretty funny. I don't know why that got me. All right, roll the finger. Let's go.
Let's go. Woo!
Hello and welcome to Black Hills Information Security's Talkin Bout News. It's June 30th, last day of June, I think. I don't know how calendars work, but welcome everyone. We're going to talk about, well, the news, obviously, but this stories this week. We got Microsoft DirectSend being abused by phishing campaigns, which, I mean, this technique is near and dear to our hearts as the original publishers of the blog, in my opinion. We have European Linux discussions, and that's why we have Charles here to talk about Linux, even though he's actually BSD Bandit, not Linux Bandit, but we'll allow it. We have, and this is, Wade and I DM'd about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Once again, I'd like to kind of mark the occasion. Like, we need some kind of ceremony. Like, does anyone have confetti or anything?
Who's on a Mac? Everybody do the Mac symbols. Let's see.
Everyone
signals,
do this.
Right?
Oh, yeah. How do I turn on? Anyway, basically, it has once again happened. Restricted and leaked data on the War Thunder forums.
We missed it. We just barely missed it last week.
We barely missed it, but we're still going to talk about it because it's hilarious. And I texted Wade this. I was like, I think this is the best way to mark the passage of time. Like, it is. I don't know if it's another year or another, like, what the time frame is, but it's another year. It's another time for leaked data on War Thunder forums, classified data. It's so good. Yeah, John Strand not here. He's actually waiting in line at Starbucks for a fake name. He's never going to get his drink because he accidentally gave them a fake name and then he forgot what name he gave. So yeah. So I think we can start off with the sensitive screenshots article. It's just the first one in the list. Basically, this is nothing crazy. We probably won't spend too much time talking about it, but there is evidence of an info stealer that extracts sensitive data from screenshots on people's phones. I'm assuming it's iOS and Android, so I don't think there's a desktop version. And these architectures, like these malware architectures, are such a disaster. There's totally a possibility that there's a desktop version and no one's really figured it out yet. But basically, the concept here is people would screenshot their crypto phrases, their key phrase, which you can use to recover your wallet. But that phrase also basically functions as your identity. So you can easily just extract that key from a screenshot and then steal someone's cryptocurrency.
A lot of apps ask for photo permissions too, just like to view your photos. And it's not, honestly, it's one that doesn't sound as sensitive, right? So you're just like, okay, yeah, whatever.
One of the things I like about iOS is every time you open an app that has full photo access, it's like, hey,
hey, do
This
you
app
want to
has
do
full
this?
photo access. Are you
Yep.
sure you want to keep giving it full photo access? So I like those kind of reminders because then I'm like, I open some random app and I'm like, no, absolutely not. Nuke this.
How often do you go through your phone apps and look for like weird stuff in there that like or apps you haven't used in forever and delete?
Not often enough. That's a good point.
So
I do it once a month.
Once a
you have a
month.
calendar
Yeah.
invite for it.
Yeah, I actually do. You know what? I actually do. I actually,
Good
so I
luck
have
hacking BST Bandit.
Look, I actually have a calendar. It says it says Charles, clean up your shit. Literally, that's what the email. You know,
Charles like walks around the house for hours after that. Not just
He's like,
his,
what am I doing? What?
There's a whole checklist that happens.
What am I doing? Yeah, that's
recently-
pretty funny.
you download the apps because you download the apps. You play with the app for like a few, and then you forget about it. You know, and I think that just goes with like just mobile security 101, right? So a lot of times, a lot of users they'll just update like the latest version of iOS or Android, but then they forget about the applications and wondering why. Hey, why do I have malware on my device? You have to update your OS and your applications as well too, right? Because you could have a rogue app that's like so out of date that it's just riddled with bugs. So
Yeah.
I always just make sure like once a month, I'm like, oh, let me make sure I got the latest update. If there's no update, then there's no harm, no foul. If it needs to be updated, it's done. And it's just a click of a button.
That's really smart. I should do that. Yeah, I mean, I think
I recently
don't-
got a phone for my son, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Isn't he like 2? What are you doing?
Yeah, perfect. Good job. Look at you.
Oh, wow.
Well, so we were on vacation. I needed something to throw at him to take his attention for a 10-hour
That's
flight.
what iPads are
Right.
for.
Yeah.
So I gutted an old Pixel, took out all the apps on it, right, and then slowly brought it back up with like I took out cell service, no cell service, all could connect to Wi-Fi, and started installing like a couple game apps that they have for kids. A lot of the game apps for kids don't have ads built into it. Some of them do, but I realized as I'm installing games that a 2-year-old could play, trying to figure stuff out, a lot of these apps require data, a lot more data than I thought. Like when did Fruit Ninja start requiring an online connection? Right?
Oh yeah,
like,
of course, because they got to be
come
able to
on.
throw those ads your way.
it's ridiculous. But
Yeah, So
I
get him
couldn't
the
believe
Steam
how many
Deck,
apps I could get rid of before the phone took a shit. Like it was just like
Yeah.
anything
No.
that it would let me delete, and some stuff that I shouldn't have.
Sure. No, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, I will say one of the workarounds, I'm not an expert on Android. I don't know if this works, but on iOS, you can actually completely remove photos permissions and you can still share photos like in Discord. You have no photos access, but then if you use the share functionality, so you go to the Photos app, then you share, like it's like a one-way trip. It can't access your photos to pick a photo, but you can go from the Photos app to any app. I don't know if that works on on Android, but it works on iOS.
I have never heard that. I like that functionality though. Like
That's cool.
What do we call that? Like one-way messages everywhere, or
Kind
one-way
of.
share?
Yeah, it's like you're allowed to share from photos, but you can't view all your photos in Discord. Like if I go to select attach a file, it doesn't see anything, but then I can like just hit a file and hit share.
So on the other side of this, how many times do you guys actually have photos of sensitive data on your phone?
Well, I mean, on my work computer, that's my screenshots, man. That's all pen testing data
Dude,
forever, right?
well, like we'll say on your phone though, not your computer.
Oh, on my phone?
No.
I mean, define sensitive data. A seed phrase, never. But like a screenshot of an order, like a receipt or QR code or something, pretty often. Like if I'm like checking in, I mean, I guess it's not really sensitive, but if I'm like going to an event and they need a QR code to check in or something like that.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. But not much. Not much. You can search through. I think there's a way in like the photos library probably to see like screenshots. There's probably a separate folder for that. So you could go through those and like clean those up. They're probably, it's like 90% garbage in there, right? There's no way that's actually useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been times where I have definitely used it because there's a functionality that I can't copy and paste or something like that. So what I'll do is I'll take a picture with my phone and then OCR it out and then message it to myself, right?
Okay.
So you're
yeah.
just you're stealing your own data.
Look at that.
Well, yeah, it's my own data. We'll say that.
Right?
Well, it seems
Yeah,
like
yeah.
every time we book an appointment to take one of the kids to the doctor, they require that you take a picture of your driver's license and send it to them over your phone or whatever I'm usually on the phone because I'm so
Right.
busy, but I won't do it. I just won't do it.
That's totally fair. Yeah, I
don't
mean
blame
that
you.
identity verification we've talked about on this show of like those identity verification services getting breached. Yeah, I mean I think in general, I will say just as kind of a shout out, doing OCR on stolen images is nothing new, and it's pretty cool. It's definitely good from an intelligence perspective to be able to do OCR. Like DLP should be able to do OCR. I noticed actually Flare, which is the dark web tool we use, they do OCR on images. So we've actually found like check fraud and stuff where we'll just search for our customers in OCR data and it'll be like someone posts a check pretending to be the customer or something like that. So it's pretty cool. Like there's security applications of OCR in addition to, hacking applications. So that's pretty awesome. But anyway, review your permissions on your mobile devices and definitely on desktop too. Don't take screenshots of sensitive data. The app or the article has some good recommendations. I mean, obviously, like, how often do you review your apps? That's tough. But the biggest thing is don't use screenshots to store sensitive information at all. Just, use something else to store that. But anyway,
I like how they named
direct
it.
send. What?
I was about to say I like how they named it Spark Kitty. That was a cool name.
Spark Kitty. Let's talk about direct send. So this is a post by Varonis. Basically, Varonis is like I don't really know what Varonis Threat Labs is. I don't think we've ever covered something from them. But
Varonis is an MDM, I thought.
I thought it was like a ransomware. I've seen it used mostly for like ransomware protections. Like people have it for.
Is that what it is?
People have it for like it monitors. It sits on your file shares and it like monitors for mass encryption and stuff like that.
That's totally wrong. A unified whatever. Don't give them ads.
Anyway, basically, they also have a Threat Labs division or whatever that posted this. So Microsoft 365 Direct Send. This is something that we use on every Black Hills pen test, at least where the rules of engagement allow. We published a blog years and years ago called "Spoofing Microsoft Like It's 1999," which is, let's just say, it made some trails and made some people angry. But yeah, I mean, the technique it's actually laid out really well in this Varonis post. It's essentially like a component that's enabled by default with a smart host. You can send, essentially is like internal email spoofing. So we'll send our clients an email as another employee of the company. It looks totally legit. And that's kind of the risk. Definitely turn this off if you haven't already, but it is interesting to see how threat actors are using it in the campaign. I thought the payload they were using was pretty interesting. It's like a PDF. Saying, "Oh, you received a voice call or whatever."
PDF of a QR code of a credentials. I was like, man, like if you're gonna get past all that stuff by using that, like
you earned it.
You earned it, but I wasn't expecting it to be so many steps. Like but the QR code is pretty golden. It's usually pretty hard. Once again, something else that you need OCR usually to recognize, but.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool campaign. I don't know how successful it was or not, but we definitely strongly recommend if you don't know what direct send is to go and look at it and fix it.
How often does it work when you guys test it?
I would say probably half the time it works. But the thing is, when it works so well. Like ridiculous. Like it typically bypasses. Here, I'll post the blog post in Discord. When it works, it typically bypasses all filters. So like all this stuff about QR codes and PDFs and stuff is maybe a little bit unnecessary, but like it's one of those things that like either doesn't work or it blows the customer's mind and they're like, I'm mad.
And it's just like one flag, right? Literally, like at least in the detections in that it said there's one checkbox you had to flip in order to block it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just
honestly,
one of those
I
things.
had never heard of this attack too, so I was reading it pretty diligently.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it applies to people who use, the Microsoft 365 suite of tools and software. If you're a Google Mail user, you probably don't even have to worry about this, but it's kind of interesting. Definitely disable this. And it's something we've been doing, we've been using this in our campaigns for years. So yeah. All right, let's talk about Linux. BSD, you ready? You got your kernel compiled, ready to go?
This one is so good. There's some
Go ahead.
distros in here
Yeah.
that I am so surprised exist. Like,
So yeah, so the article, and this is kind of like building on a couple weeks ago we talked about like some European city was switching all their computers to Linux.
Yeah.
I think, you know, they also were like, it's basically like the theme here is European governments are de-Microsofting themselves, or, you know, distancing themselves from Microsoft. Every article kind of gives different reasons. The best reason I can tell so far is in the article. It basically says, you know, we can't have our government security, not just security, but our government's integrity affected by an American company, right? So part of it is the current political climate where angry orange man might just decide to turn Microsoft off one day or whatever. Like that's the theoretical possibility. I don't know how realistic that necessarily is, but the bigger thing is if you're a European government, all these features nowadays, you're relying on cloud stuff, like AI stuff.
Right.
They can definitely cause, you know, data from European countries to leave the European Union and end up in somehow in America or in, you know, Microsoft tools.
But
so I don't know. That's the fear, I guess.
that I was just surprised that some of these cities have their own distro and then maintain it. Like,
yes, they do.
Right,
which
like,
is amazing.
That's pretty
yeah.
big. That's amazing feat. Like, not just like I was like, okay, one Munich. That's like, okay, that's pretty cool. But then a couple more pop up, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like,
it is.
Why doesn't a company
I would guess,
do that? Like,
I would guess they're pretty heavily like. I would guess it's like they have a Packer build or whatever that's like take Ubuntu, add our stuff to it. Like I would guess there's not a ton of modification happening. It's not like a completely forked, you know, branch, but it does seem like they're going that route, right? So the one example they give is the France's gendarmerie. I don't know how to say that. Has 100K computers, which is 97% on their own Ubuntu distro or Ubuntu based distro. But then they're also talking about having like EUOS basically, which is going to be based on. I never heard of these Kinoit, which is
I've heard of Kinoit.
What is it?
It's to me, it's just I've heard of it. It looks like more so just to me, it's just another Linux that's getting cute with KDE desktop. I mean,
okay,
that's pretty much it. Like, here's the thing with a lot of this stuff, right? Like, that's okay. That's great. They want to, you know, I feel like I'm reading something from like 1999, right, and early 2000s. Let's be honest, because everybody always had that that we're gonna get away from Microsoft attitude every day, right? And you know, and we had a lot of shops, one-stop shops, where you had one person who was just like anti-Microsoft. He was a sysadmin. You had your DNS, you had your Apache, you had your Squid, you had everything just 100% Linux. Until one day email stops working or something stops working in Linux, or a power outage happens and then it doesn't boot up properly, and then you have issues with the kernel. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like 100% on the side of Linux or Windows, but Windows does get some things right?
What?
I look at it this way.
You're on the side
can we
of
get a
it.
replay of that? Can we
Don't clip that.
Listen what I'm
Don't
saying.
clip that.
Don't clip any of this. Look, listen, I'm a huge fan of BSD, Nix altogether, right? But here's the thing. What are you going to do about email? Right? Yeah, you can
Squirrel
use Gmail
mail,
and
dude.
everything
We
else.
got squirrel mail.
Okay, we
Brown
got squirrel
cube.
mail. Okay, and then we're going to use Mutt for the actual like email clients, right? We're all going to use Mutt, right? Let's break it down here.
For those,
These need some better names.
hold on. For those that don't know what Mud is, let's just run through some of the features of Mutt.
Oops, my beard is showing.
So Mutt is a command line email viewer that doesn't even support images.
Right. Look, we're gonna lock it down. Let's lock it down all the way, right? We're gonna go all the way with it.
I will say my concern is, I think specifically around when. So here's my thought, and this is like I'm totally guessing. I don't know exactly how they're implementing this stuff. There was a person who reached out to me after the last show and kind of gave me some info about specifically how France is doing it, which I'll read off some of that stuff. But basically, I think if you approach this from the angle of we have to have all the same features, we have to have all the same features of Linux or in Linux or in this like environment, in our corporate environment, we have to also have them in, in Linux. I think you're screwed. If you try to have like video calling, Teams, AI, like all of the stuff that Microsoft does, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Access, Microsoft Project, Microsoft this, Microsoft that. Like if you try to bring all the tools and suites of software, then you're screwed. But I think what they're doing is they're cutting down the services they provide to a very small number, like desktop services, email, documents, and that's it. And then everything else would be SaaS, right? Like I'm assuming like for project management, they're using not like, I'm assuming they're not using like open source version of Kanban or whatever. They're probably using Monday or Jira or whatever.
Right.
So
that could work though.
Yeah, it's like if you cut your corporate IT down to almost nothing, and then you have SaaS for everything else, not Sunburn as a service, software as a service, then I think it actually works. Like that is what they're doing.
But on that side point, you go straight Linux, right? I think there's a lot less people who know Linux comfortably to manage it as well as to do security on it. At least from a blue team perspective. Like, I don't think it's my personal preference. It's not that much harder. It's just a couple more things to learn. But a majority of security people definitely know a lot about Windows and just some about Linux. And there's certain security features that you're just used to using on Windows that you then really have to figure out how to use on Linux. So that jump is also like something I was thinking about. Like, how would I go about defending this entire Linux environment?
Right. Now you know what.
And here's one more thing to think about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Office nowadays is available through the browser. You could go ahead and be on Linux and still use Microsoft Office if you wanted
not if you wanted
through the browser.
Any of the features. I mean, yes.
Well, a lot of the features are not available. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't share your screen on.
If you're not,
yeah.
But if what you're looking at is a compatibility issue or something to switch over to, you're still going ahead because you're still not getting those features if you're using the native Linux on it, especially if you're dealing with somebody that is going ahead and you're trying to interconnect with somebody, say in the US and have a Teams.
Yeah, no, they use
still not going to get
LibreOffice.
that stuff. So
they use LibreOffice. For they don't use Microsoft Office. Part of this is also so. I think from their perspective, the biggest problem is the cost is big, huge. Like the cost of having Microsoft Office licensing for 100K users is massive.
Right.
And they're worried about the sovereignty of it. If you're a German state and Microsoft goes down and you can't, do German stuff, like
then
it's
what do you do?
Kind of a silly thing from sovereignty perspective. And I get it. But I mean, obviously we could talk about it forever and forever. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. They recommend so many different, like Wade said, this article has so many different distros and are they going to use? Are they going to use OpenSUSE or are they going to use Kinoik? Or are they like it's?
They're going to use SteamOS.
But you know what?
Deploy SteamOS everywhere. Just.
But you know what? Yes. And you know that boomerang, that BSD boomerang has to come back around. Just come on over to FreeBSD. The servers are 100% like stable. I mean, rock solid. Okay. For the people that have Macs or whatever, you can use that with BSD on the back end. These are things that you can actually use. So you can come on over to BSD to like any city out there that's looking at this video and want to convert over. Definitely think about BSD. BSD is a great option. Less fuss. It is tried and true. And I agree with what Wade said. And look, a lot more people don't really pay attention to BSD. Like the security folks, they don't pay attention to BSD. So that's even better. I'm out here just doing my little quick spin here.
For more information, please email BSD Bandit at...
Don't clip the Windows comment about how Windows is useful. Clip that one instead.
Yes, clip this one.
So
please.
as a little kind of follow-up, as I mentioned, the person that reached out to me that had some, not like insider information, but basically for anyone curious, the French government uses, they call it TCHAP, which is based on Matrix. We were talking about what do they use for Teams? That was our big question. Like the other stuff I get, like LibreOffice, desktop is Ubuntu or whatever. It's called TCHAP. I just posted a news article in Discord that just kind of runs through their in-house IM app that they use. For anyone who's curious.
And what about
Awesome.
Pigeon? Isn't Pigeon like a Linux?
No, Pigeon's garbage. Terrible security.
it's horrible.
IRC
Oh, really?
is
Yes.
wide open. OTR was how you apply encryption to
Mhm.
IRC, and that was super vulnerable as well. There was some like the Alpha Bay guy got because the OTR encryption keys are just on disk, and it's symmetric encryption. So like it's just like if you have one key, it's everywhere.
Let's put it to you this way: Pigeon is so bad that SendMail is more secure than Pigeon.
Just use Signal. How do we Signal for
use
admins,
Signal?
right? Like,
don't Hexeth yourself, and yeah, you're good to go.
Sorry, SendMail, I had to do it.
So yeah, we'll see. But kind of an interesting thing to think about. And yeah, I guess we should cover the article about War Thunder because we talked about it at the beginning. So let's run through this real quick. Basically, this is restricted data about the AV-8B Harrier, which is, I think, the British vertical takeoff and landing jet. They posted flight manual for that, which is classified restricted information, to the War Thunder forums. Yeah, it was the section from the Nat Ops manual used by the United States Navy and the Marine Corps. Distribution statement C, which means it's not approved for public release and is restricted to authorized U.S. government personnel and contractors. The War Thunder community manager confirmed the document breached the forum's rules and was removed immediately. The user received a temporary ban. So they're temporary. They're allowed to come back. Yeah, sorry. The Harrier is not British. It's ours. My bad. I'm not a pilot.
It's all good.
Yeah. So let's add that to the list of the Challenger 2 main battle tank, the Leclerc. Well, I don't even know what that is, and a bunch of other military things that have been. Honestly, should this be their Is this just their advertising at this point?
They're the most realistic video game ever, right?
We're so realistic. The government will be watching what you're doing to see if you're eligible for prison sentence. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's.
Did they say it was?
There's
8? Was it 8 or 9? It's just amazing.
I don't know. We don't have like an official counter, but maybe we should. Oh, it says at least the 9th. So minimum 9.
At least. There's probably some just hidden in the forum somewhere that no one's noticed, right? So people get out there.
The article points out that these manuals are already floating around.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, it's totally just a meme. Like, you know, if you really were to go and find this stuff, it's out there. But it is funny how, like, people get into arguments or like, dude, I totally would have won if the plane was accurate to the manual. You can't fly at Mach 2, dude. It's impossible, man. No,
then you have a whole bunch of subreddits. Around this.
I think it's pretty funny. And yeah. All right. Let's talk about this Scale AI thing. Did anyone catch this?
No, let's talk about it though.
So it's a kind of a silly article, but probably worth talking about. So it links to, there's a Business Insider. I'll link the article in the chat.
Okay.
So the original article is in Business Insider. And they basically are kind of, it's almost like they're disclosing the vulnerability, but they're more just like doing it through a news article. So basically the story here is that Scale AI, which I don't actually know that much about Scale AI, but they had Google Docs for their clients that were just open with the link sharing enabled. So there was like hundreds of them, or I don't know exactly how many, but Business Insider managed to find a bunch of things that were shared by link, and some of them even allowed editing by link. So it's like basically bad Google Docs permissions. The data that was disclosed included, a list of employees and whether they're good or bad. This is for like Google themselves, not Scale AI. This is like Google is using Scale AI for some purpose. There was audio clips for chatbot speech training, just a bunch of leaked data. So my question to anyone is like, first of all, how do you end up as a company like this with so much sensitive data who allows link sharing to be enabled on your Google Docs? Like that's an obvious thing you should lock down right off the bat, right? Like disable link sharing, disable public access.
It was
my
up
other
to
question-
AI to do that.
Yeah, exactly. But my other question is, how did Business Insider get their hands on all these links? Because that's my angle here is like, where do you get the links? I don't think Google indexes them. Like, I was doing some Google dorking before the show to try to look for like whether you can find Google Docs links. There are some, but not like, if I search site docs.google.com scale AI, nothing comes up that's like Facebook employee list or whatever. So I'm like, where are they getting these links? Are they pulling them from
What about
being
Yandex?
shared around? Like, I don't know. I don't think you can brute force the links because they're probably like 35 character IDs or something like that. So I don't know, just an interesting angle. It's like bad security, but where do you get these links to begin with? I don't know. Maybe advertising or something.
This perfect. If anybody ever tells you security through obscurity, just point them at this, right? Which I have in the past, which is also scary.
Yeah, definitely. If you're an organization that uses Google Docs, you got to disable public link sharing, or even not just Google Docs. Any tool that has a public link sharing functionality, whether it's a OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Docs, whatever it is, turn that shit off. You don't need it. You don't need Google link sharing for every like the whole internet needs to be able to see this document. I don't think so.
Just do that for everything you have.
Turn the internet off.
Just turn the internet off. Just get a POTS line, just like that's all you need. That's it.
No, you definitely need a squid proxy and a roundcube server.
Yeah. Squid will never die. Oh goodness. But no, I think you should apply that to everything really. Like whether you're if you're an engineer or admin or whatever else, if you don't need it, turn it off. Any services any services that you don't need, just turn it off and uninstall it. Well, that could be tricky. Let me take that back because Linux these days there's so many like library dependencies with certain things that if you do remove something, it could mess something else up. So leave it, but just make sure it's disabled and turned off permanently. That's my BSD public service announcement.
Well, also you set a calendar invite for yourself every month that just says turn everything off you don't need.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. You could do that too.
If you're a network admin, just set a calendar invite that just says disable.
I'll do it for everyone right now. Okay, Google, set a calendar reminder in 1 month to turn off everything I'm not using. God damn,
there you go, Wade.
It up.
Yes. Look at that. Let's start it off.
Perfect. All right, in a month, everyone's internet will go down, and no one will know why.
Oh yeah. Well, they get the reminder.
They'll get the reminder. They're like, "Why is the internet turned off?" Oh, I guess the IT team said it wasn't needed.
Yeah, it wasn't needed. Just for a day.
It's awesome. So, let's cover the next article I wanted to talk about is the BreachForums. A couple more BreachForums admins were arrested in France. So this is Shiny Hunters, who's a notorious threat actor, and Intel Broker, who's another notorious threat actor. They were, I believe, Shiny Hunters was indicted like last year by DOJ. Or sentenced but now they've actually been arrested. Or detained by France's cybercrime brigade. Again, the BreachForums has been a notorious hacking forum for the last,
long time,
5 years or more, and it just keeps exchanging owners, and each owner appears to be ending up in jail sooner or later. So it's a pretty dangerous site to be running, but for some reason they keep doing it. It's almost like 20-something-year-old males might not have fully developed brains. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that does happen.
It seems to be a specific demographic of who's running these sites. But yeah,
I don't know. It could be.
You think he chose the name Shiny Hunters after the group? Because that's what I was feeling. I was like, why would you? Like, I knew about Shiny Hunters because they've been around for a while. Like literally in my Intel
threat
class.
Actor?
Yeah, the threat actor. Like my Intel class, I have Shiny Hunters as like an example of a threat actor, and it's like from 2019.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? This is kind of crazy. Like that now some dude took that as a username and got hit. Like,
Oh
at least
yeah.
be original.
Yeah.
Take like another name or something, right? Or unless
Yeah.
he's the dude, which also sucks.
Well, no, I think he's the dude.
You think
I don't.
he's
I
it?
could
You
be
think
wrong,
he's the
but
hunter, the shiny
I
hunter?
think he's the hunter. I could be wrong, but I mean, this is a notorious threat actor. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But I mean,
Yeah.
these threat actors also have hilarious names. Like, I swear half of this is just the gamesmanship of like, how stupid of a name can you come up with, right? Like, one of the persons, so shiny hunters, also known as Hollow, or the other people, the other suspects, Hollow, Knocked, and one is just called Depressed.
or you have Dubin, the data destroyer. I mean, just
Yeah, like that's part of it. It's having such a silly name that
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised, and I guess a little impressed that their name isn't just a straight up slur. Based on the hacking forums I've been looking at, they use a lot of those. So let's be glad it's something we can even say on this podcast.
yeah.
I've seen too many of those.
Yeah, there was an interesting one about more supply chain attacks, or I guess like malicious, contagious interview attacks. So this is something we've talked about before on the show. Basically, North Korea will pose. This is their attempts to infect job candidates or job hunting candidates. It's not the one where they go get a job at the company. It's the one where they're trying to infect people who are looking for jobs in the hope that when they do get hired, they can siphon that data that they get and take over the account. So basically, Socket Security or whatever has published a blog about they picked up 35 different malicious NPM packages. The idea is these NPM packages will be used, and like they'll have during the interview process, they'll be like, hey, can you write a tool that uses this NPM package? And then they'll compromise their system that way. So, yeah.
I've had to fight against this a couple times in the past. It's usually pretty hard. Sometimes what will happen is pretty much the victim will email you and be like, hey, is this for real? Did you guys offer me this job? Because they see something fishy. And then you'll start conversing, like, hey, no, where did you see this? And you realize it's on some weird job board that like isn't as well watched, say as LinkedIn or Indeed. A lot of the times the way you can find it is, of course, with some type of threat intel capability that is either like looking for your logo, looking for your company name, or possibly looking for high up VIP individual names, because sometimes those are actually in the job listing, right? Another thing to think about if you are putting job listings is to put some type of like seed name into the job listing always, and then always hunt for that name if it shows up anywhere on not an accredited job board. So that's the other thing, is you also have to know where your recruiters are actually posting jobs, which is something that most cyber people aren't going to know. So you have to then talk to the recruiters and see what they're doing. It's a pretty interesting tactic. I like it, but it's pretty interesting to fight against it.
Yeah. I mean, this is, one of those examples of how it can be picked up kind of out of band. It's like being picked up at the malware level, not at the, like, what Wade was talking about, which is more at like the business logic level, I guess. This is like just scanning for and trying to pick off these GitHub repos and malicious packages before they got, published or before they got used, hopefully. But yeah, it's pretty scary. I mean, if someone said in chat, if you're doing a job interview, use an ephemeral VM, right? Like, you don't do your job interview from your main system, or God forbid, from your work system for another company.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So half of these interviews nowadays require you to install spyware anyway. If you're doing a coding interview, like if you're doing a coding interview for Amazon, they're like, it's pretty aggressive with what they make you install. And yeah, so just be careful if you're looking for a job. It also just sucks because it's affecting the people who are looking for jobs, which is like, they're have a lot going on, I guess.
A vulnerable demographic.
Yeah, they're more vulnerable because they don't have, if you're looking for a job, you probably don't have an EDR on your system, or you know what I mean? Like, you're not,
pretty
you have
much
less security. You're on a BYOD just on a home computer. Now, if you're running BSD, probably good.
Maybe that's
yeah, you are good.
I installed the malicious NPM package, and It said it couldn't compile because my kernel doesn't have a GCC compiler.
Look at that. See?
Oops.
Isn't that a godsend?
I installed MinGW and the program runs well. I now have C2 on my system. Is that the intention?
I had a program
Anyway.
interview that required me to do a bunch of installs, and I did I did that. I did it through a VM. And then when I got on the interview, the guy's like, yeah, here's your problem. Just write this code. And I'm like, well, you had me like install all this stuff, do all these things, and then you want me to make a repo for it, but now you just want me to write this? He's like, yeah, you didn't need to do any of that. Just pull up VS Code and just let me see you do this. And I'm like, dude, that was like an hour's worth of work of like down the drain. I winded up commenting on that interview and telling them that their programming interview sucks. So
Good for you. I hope that wasn't for a company you actually ended up working for.
it is not.
Oh,
It is
okay.
not. No,
It was
Let's say,
no, I
Wade-
would not. No,
Well, it was
That's a
probably
good
that is-
experience, though.
it
Well, they
was.
probably
the coding,
wanted the code, right? They wanted the code written internally, and they just wanted.
Oh,
you to
it
do
definitely wasn't anything gnarly. No, it was something stupid. But it was more of like the dude also who was reading the code was like talking to his son while I was doing the interview, and I wrote all the code out. I'm like, hey man, I think I got it. And he's like, nah, that's wrong. He's like, oh, time's up. All right, well, have a good day. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
He didn't even read
Wow.
the code.
didn't
He
even
said
read it.
was
Yeah, I
wrong.
was like, all this work for nothing. Like,
I will
Yeah,
say,
that's
though,
insane.
That's a great process, though, because it makes sure that you as a candidate have many red flags to just say,
Yeah.
don't work
Yep.
there before you get a job there.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Wade for the win.
We can talk about this. There's a couple of vulnerabilities I want to talk about. One is this new CitrixBleed 2. So this is posted by Double Pulsar, which is Kevin Beaumont, one of our favorite security researchers out there. Basically, if everyone remembers CitrixBleed, I think that was last year. It was very similar. So the bleed part is remembering back to Heartbleed, which is our favorite vulnerability from 2017 or something. I forget the year. A long time ago, maybe more
Yeah.
like 2013.
2013,
Super old vulnerability.
2014, yeah.
2014. It was
Yeah.
basically a vulnerability in SSL that let you dump memory contents of anything running OpenSSL, which turned out to be 90% of the internet. This is affecting Citrix gateways. It's kind of interesting, though. Like the researcher really goes deep on like the first they said it was only the management interface, which should never be exposed. But then they removed the thing that said it was only the management interface. So it's apparently not just the management interface, it's also like the client interface, which means it's everything, I guess. I don't know if there's a POC. I haven't seen one yet. Most of the POCs out there right now have lots of Chinese characters in them and are probably maybe
They
not as
dare you
legit.
to run them. Yeah.
So be careful with looking for POCs on this, right? But yeah, the POCs, at least the ones I've seen so far, just straight up look like malware. But
Yeah.
maybe over time a POC will be published, and then the long story short here is patch your Citrix. You probably are super aware of this, but yeah, patch your Citrix environments out there.
I haven't used Citrix in so long. It's been like 4 companies.
It's been way
since the
too
last time I
long.
used it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Is it just me, or are they like going out? Or do
don't
people
know.
actually use it a lot?
I guess
No.
they're still using it like they're using Lotus Notes.
That's a bad.
No,
Nightmares.
Saying myself.
you just triggered so many people by saying that.
Oh man, I had a moment. I've ran across a place that had Lotus Notes like last year, so that's why.
Oh,
It made me
I'm
think.
Did
about
you
sorry.
read the second line in this article? Did you read that out loud?
I did
the
not read
Citrix
it out
Bleed one?
loud.
No.
It's back like Kanye West returning to Twitter about 2 years later. This is the
Oh man.
Is that like a current news article that we should be covering? Kanye West is back on Twitter. Oh, that's
I'd
great.
rather not, but maybe.
No, please no.
So the other one that's pretty funny, or not funny, but just insane in the scope of this vulnerability.
Mhm.
So the brother printers. This is research by Rapid7, and there's 8 vulnerabilities in, and this number is not made up, 748 models of different devices from 5 different vendors. So 689 models come from Brother, which is a Japanese company.
Mhm.
And the big vulnerability here is that the technique used to generate the default admin password is just uses the serial number as seed data. So you can just reverse engineer that process and you can generate the default admin password over the network. You can query a
wow.
device, get its serial number, and then pull down and generate the admin password.
That's
So
pretty crazy.
so this is crazy in just an amount. Like it, I don't know how many printers that is, but I'm guessing it's just a lot, like millions, maybe billions. I don't know how many printers are out there, but I feel like if you assume minimum 100 printers per company and then like a printer at everyone's house, it's got to be in the billions. But yeah,
especially
basically,
small businesses rely
yeah.
on the Brother printers a lot more than you think. Like
Yes.
my dad's literally like he puts the Brother printer as the success to his company. It was that alone. Because
Wow.
it could fax and do print, like do a scan and do everything from like a low level internet. And
Sure.
now I'm going to have to go in and update that. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So Nerf Blasters nailed the comment. It's mitigated if you ever change the default password, so it only affects 95% of printers. So yeah, exactly.
Do you guys all have printers?
So I have a Brother printer, and I went and tried to use the default password, and I was like, oh, I actually did change it. I changed the default password on the printer. So I am the 1%, guys. Woo!
Do you know what the password is now, though?
It's in 1Password. Yeah. It's
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
But
good.
yeah, so the question is, how many companies out there that are small businesses, and how many home users have changed the default password on their printer?
One of the companies I was working at, like there was a vulnerability for the R printer, and we found it, and we didn't have any like full-time red teamers, so we tried to exploit it on the network. And next thing you know, you just hear IT like super pissed off because the printer just
was it printing?
It just blew up. Yeah, it literally like took a shit, and we never comped to it, but it was a possibility.
What's that? No.
Yes,
they got a new printer and they fixed it.
So, and as far as like why does it matter? I mean, honestly, so a lot of this is old stuff. Like a lot of this is like old school stuff. But back in the day, this is the printer days, we would get DA off a printer because a printer would be configured with an LDAP password. And I mean, you might as well use the admin account when you're making that LDAP binding to be able to look up, where you're going to send the email for this print. But yeah, printers are bad. I mean, printers, they also have sensitive data. Like I would say some of the most sensitive data in any organization is going through printers and faxes. Medicare or medical industry uses faxes heavily. Just like the data going in and out of printers these days, especially, is probably almost all sensitive data. Because if you're printing it, or if you're faxing it, or if you're scanning it, it's probably sensitive. Otherwise, you would just send it by email.
There's a lot of good DLP tools that track printing. That's because literally that's like one of the last few things that like printing. You can't do screenshots, but I have seen DLP go through home printers quite some time. So you can actually they'll look up print jobs, tell you exactly the file name. Usually if you hit the file name, you can go look on their computer and see what it is. And usually it's a sales list or something like that.
Yeah. So basically inventory your printers, tools like Nessus or Nmap, or, pick any network scanning tool, find your printers, make sure the default passwords are changed just out of hygiene. But this is a reason to do it, because this is 700 models of printer are affected by this, which is a lot. I will say I didn't see a POC for this either. I didn't look that hard, but I'm curious what the actual technique to generate the password is and how, computationally intensive that actually is, if at all. But yeah. What else?
The only other one I read and I glanced at it was the Canada orders Chinese Hikvision to close Canadian operations, which I don't think it's anything. it's interesting, but I feel like it's not anything too surprising, right? Like we've been
Why
seeing this
not?
a lot lately.
I've seen these cameras all over the place. These are super
Have you?
common. Yeah. Is it Hikvision? I always said Hikvision, but maybe that's just me being a hick and having bad vision.
I'll take whatever. I'm not the best.
Hikvision
reader.
is probably more accurate.
I'm gonna go say hike. Let's say Hikvision.
All right, cool.
We're gonna go with hike.
So pretty much, right? The Canadian government ordered all the Chinese surveillance cameras from the manufacturer of Hikvision to cease operations in Canada completely for national security concerns.
Were they also banned in the U.S.? Or like I'm reading and it's like it says
if they're
here,
banned in Canada, they are banned. They are most likely banned in the U.S.
Yeah.
it basically says we've put multiple sanctions and restrictions on them over the past 5 years, but I don't think we've actually outright banned them, have we?
No.
Or
let's see.
this
Google
seems like
AI
a drastic
says they're
measure.
banned. Let me find an actual.
Sure.
Yeah,
Basically, this is a pretty. They're following the writing on the wall. Like, obviously, we've sanctioned them. We've, the writing's on the wall. People are saying in Discord, right? Like, they're heavily discouraged. But they were not officially banned. Versus Canada took it one step further. So, kind of interesting.
24, the FCC upheld the court upholds FCC right to ban tech from China-owned telecom companies, and one of those bans was Hikvision. So they are banned in the U.S., but you could probably still order them from what's
Temu.
those Chinese ordering apps? Temu, yeah,
Temu,
right?
yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, honestly, like if it's banned and they're not allowed to operate in Canada. Does that at all affect your ability to just buy them and use them anyway?
No,
and
never,
how many of
right?
them are just rebranded as something else, right? Like this is similar to the, any other Amazon type product where it's like, oh no, this isn't a Hikvision, it's a Best camera. It's a, you know what I mean? It's like just the rebranding is so rampant. So, I don't know. Me personally, I use the Unify stuff. I'm a big fan of it, like self-hosted. Obviously, it is still cloud accessible, so maybe they get breached, and I hate that. But I don't know. I think nowadays, if you're rolling your own cameras, they're going to have either Chinese firmware or you're going to have to pay a subscription fee.
And then the police have instant access to them.
Yeah, if they're on Nest, if you have Nest or a Ring or any of those other third-party clouds, yeah, for sure. Pretty scary. Yeah, post your camera recommendations. Where can I buy a camera that doesn't have Chinese firmware? Send links.
That's a great question.
So, an interesting one. This is kind of political a little bit, but apparently the House banned WhatsApp on staff devices. Are you telling me this was allowed? Why was this allowed? Oh.
When I saw that,
this is an article in.
when I saw it on CNN, I just looked and said, you know what? I'm gonna go lay down and take a nap. I can't believe what I just witnessed. Like literally, because
what? You know what you should do? Set a monthly calendar invite to go take a nap. Yeah, I mean,
Static Clear has it right. They just standardize on Signal, obviously. That's why they banned it.
Oh, you mean WeChat or whatever? Or what was the one? Telemessage? You mean telemessage?
Telegram?
Yeah, Telegram. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I guess the U.S. House of Reps has banned installation and use of WhatsApp. Honestly, though, I'll count this as a win that they're actually banning stuff. I can't believe this was enabled before. I guess it is end-to-end encrypted, and it is like U.S. based, right?
It's U.S. based, right? Like is this a win? Like I don't see it as like that huge, but how are they enforcing this? That's what I want to know. Is there just a list of
is there MDM
approved apps?
There's got to be MDM,
right? We hope, but
here's how they do it, Wade. They just force every House of Reps to tweet and DM Elon Musk and send them that list of apps on their phone. Then he just manually reviews all of them.
Oh, that's what I thought.
It's pretty slick system.
I think the bigger question here is if the House is banning it, what other areas of government are still allowing it?
A
Good
lot.
question. A lot.
The others, we should assume it's allowed by default. Now, maybe the other branches of the U.S. government will follow. But yeah, if you're wondering, here are the list of accepted chat programs: Microsoft Teams, Wicker. Which does anyone know anything about Wicker?
What is
I've never
Wicker?
heard of that in my life.
Wicker
Signal, iMessage, and FaceTime. So apparently, Wicker is Wicker the government one? Like I've
No,
never
it's
heard of this.
AWS. It's Amazon.
It's AWS?
Okay.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I don't know. How do they spell it? WICKR?
Yeah.
WICKR, dude.
Okay.
You can't be having those. You cannot
Yeah,
have
it's
too many.
Amazon.
Okay, it is
I've
Amazon.
never heard of this ever.
Me neither.
So this
I gotta
is
check it out.
okay. So now I'm actually changing my mind because this is more just a diss on Facebook. Why, if you're gonna allow Wicker, why ban WhatsApp? Doesn't make any
Bezos
sense.
Good
must have
question.
paid someone off.
It's just a dig on.
Yeah.
Is this just like billionaire v billionaire, like billionaire
Yeah.
on billionaire crime? I
That's
don't.
what it
Yeah,
feels like.
I really don't know why they would ban WhatsApp. They didn't really list this. Did they list a specific reason? I didn't see a specific reason.
All right. What we got?
They
One
said-
more.
Well, they said
ahead.
citing concerns over how the app encrypts and secures data. I don't know what that means, but anyway, yeah. Take us out. Someone linked a chicken article. I don't know
Oh,
if it
my
actually
goodness.
is a chicken article.
I didn't get to read it. I saw it.
Mm-mm.
We'll cover it just because
Chad.
why not? We have time. We have to cover it for funsies.
Oh my god, I could even speak to this. Chickens are becoming the third most popular pet. That is literally it. Tractor Supply Company is expecting a high demand for its live chickens and chicken
Okay,
sales.
so-
if you didn't know, Tractor Demand actually sells live chickens there. You can just go and buy them. Like
Tractor
little
Supply.
chicks. Tractor Supply,
Yeah.
That.
Interesting.
So
High demand for its live chick and chicken
All
sales
right,
through the chain's
I can-
Chick Days promotions. Why
I'm
was
gonna
I
have
not
to-
aware of this?
I'm gonna have to send this article to a buddy of mine. So my first my first security job in a SOC. The guy who got me the job loved chickens, but his friends, he actually was
Well,
doing.
we need to
chicken
get him on the
rescue.
show.
I don't know.
With a live
So-
chicken.
Live chicken. So he had a bunch at home. He his entire backyard was netted so that hawks or anything couldn't eat the chickens. He put diapers on the chickens because they could go in the house. Most of them were.
What if they poop an egg? What happens?
Most of them were trained to go outside and poop, but there's a couple that weren't. There was one time in the SOC, right? He had adopted a pygmy rooster. It was like a rooster, but it was not smaller than a venti Starbucks cup. And it was ridiculous. But he brought it to the SOC because the other chickens were pecking at it, right? And he's like, I looked at the rules. It doesn't say no animals in the SOC. And I'm like, all right, I don't care that much. And every now and then it would just caw, and everyone would be like, all right. And it was cool. It was tiny. He was running around. And then we had an executive walk in. It caught, and then he hid it under his jacket, and the executive looked at him all funky, and he's like, all right, and then walked away. We were the SOC, so everyone thought we were weird anyway, but it was perfect. Shout out to Lee if he ever listens. He's the
Whoever
chicken guy.
copped to whoever pretended like they were the ones who made the chicken sound, that's your real friend.
Yes.
Dude, after that, the director found out that he had brought a chicken, and they had changed the rules that no pets allowed in the SOC.
Lee
No
the chicken.
animals in the sock.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Lee the chicken master.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will send him this clip later. It's been a minute since I talked to him.
I mean, I've given this warning multiple times on the podcast, but if you get chickens, you get rats, and you need to factor that in. If you're gonna
Yeah.
if you're gonna have chickens around, you're gonna get rats. So then you need to plan for that,
Yeah.
because rats and chickens go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know.
Anyway,
that.
yeah, the rats like the chicken feed, and
Yeah.
it creates problems. And rats are real smart and real persistent. They'll remember a location for 5 years. They'll keep coming back.
They're like adversaries.
Yes, they're like APTs. Rats are the true APTs of the world.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any last articles?
The one before the chicken one in the chat is actually pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Norway dam hacked, valve open, but no danger. So I didn't see this one till just now. Someone hacked a dam in Norway and was able to open the release valve to full capacity. Luckily, no one was injured, and it didn't cause any damage. But supposedly, the attackers compromised some weak password in a web accessible control panel. But this is up there, at least for like an ICS hack, or like at least vulnerable critical systems. Like, I have never heard of it going this far, besides some of like the water stuff we've heard in the past, where they've like increased chemical levels in the water. But it's a tiny little article. There's not much about it, but that one's kind of scary.
That is scary. I mean, this is one of those, like, our IoT security policy is to just get lucky. That works really well. Yeah, I mean, if someone had been servicing it, or if someone had been like in the wrong place at the wrong time, that's super dangerous, right? That's crazy. Wow.
The one comment: before anyone reads too much into this incident, officials remain uncertain as to if putting the valve at full capacity was intentional or not. So don't worry, he didn't mean to.
Yeah, this is a very thin news article, which makes sense because it's probably just some quiet town in Norway where you'd really want to live, but like there's not a whole lot of journalists, you know,
pretty much
around. But,
probably one journalist in the town.
One journalist.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not great, but definitely review your exposed systems. Make sure they don't use default passwords and all that good stuff.
Make sure it's in your calendar every month. So
set a calendar invite. Now, so at this point, by the end of the show, you should have 4 monthly calendar invites. All right, let's go through them one by one. 1, delete all your unused apps and review the permissions of the apps you have installed. 2, turn off all the unnecessary features, or just consider turning off all the internet. 3, take a nap. And 4, change all your default passwords. That's 4 invites a month. That's fine. There's 30 days in a month-ish. You got 4 invites. As long as you stagger them properly, it's no big deal.
I believe in
and
you.
then also maybe add a 5th one monthly to install and try BSD.
That's right. And this has been your public service announcement.
All right. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Later.
Have a safe holiday if you're in the America.
Ow!
It's Canada Day tomorrow.
And Canada Day. No one blow your hand off. Keep those hands.
Your hands are important. That's how you make a living.
Yep. All right. Bye, y'all.